Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on the invisible engine that really powers our modern world. You know, from the package that magically shows up at your door to the money that zips through your bank account. Let's get right into it.
Really think about it for a second. A company like Amazon, how on earth do they manage this massive global network to get one specific package to your house in like a day? Or think about a bank processing millions, maybe billions of transactions flawlessly every single hour. It almost feels like magic, right? But it's not. It's actually a brilliant system at work. And the secret sauce? Well, it all comes down to these three pillars: management, information, and systems. If you can get these three things working together in harmony, you can build a global empire. But if just one of them fails, you get total chaos. We're talking packages sent to the wrong continent, or bank accounts showing completely wrong balances. So let's break down how they all connect.
Okay, so before we can even talk about managing anything, we gotta understand the playing field. From a systems point of view, what is an organization really?
This diagram here really boils it down to its absolute core. Every single business, I don't care if it's your local coffee shop or a giant like Google, follows this fundamental loop. It takes in inputs, things like coffee beans, cash, and people, and through some kind of production process, it creates valuable outputs, like your morning latte. This simple transformation, this is the bedrock of everything else we're about to discuss.
So if an organization is kind of like a vehicle, what's steering it? Well, that brings us to the human element, management. And I love this definition because it really hinges on two super important words: efficiently and effectively. See, being effective means doing the right thing, like deciding, hey, we should build a bridge here. But being efficient means doing that thing the right way, building it on time and under budget. And great management, well, it absolutely requires both. So how do managers actually pull this off? Well, it pretty much boils down to these four functions. You can remember it with the acronym POLC. First, you plan your destination. Where are we going? Then you organize your team and all your resources. Then you have to lead them, give them a clear vision. And finally, you control the journey by monitoring your progress and, adjusting your course when you need to. It's a continuous loop, not just a straight line. And this pyramid gives us a really critical insight. Management is not a single job. Down at the bottom, you've got your operational managers. They're on the front lines, totally focused on day-to-day tasks. Then in the middle, those managers act kind of like translators, turning the big picture strategy into actual actionable plans. And way up at the top, you've got senior management. They are steering the entire ship, focused on long-term survival and growth. And here's the key. Each level needs totally different tools and information to do their job right.
All right. So for any of those managers at any of those levels to make good decisions, they need fuel. And in the 21st century, that fuel is information.
Now, this is a really crucial distinction we have to make. Data, that's just a stream of raw facts. A list of sales figures, a bunch of customer names, inventory levels. By itself, it's just noise. Information, on the other hand, is data that's been organized and processed into something meaningful for a human being. And the entire challenge is figuring out how to bridge that gap.
And believe it or not, it all starts right here with something as simple as a table. To turn all that raw data into something useful, we have to give it structure. So we define columns or fields for things like name and email. And then we create rows or records for each individual customer. This simple act of organizing is what lets us start asking questions and actually uncovering insights.
Okay, so we've got the organization, we've got the managers who drive it, and we have the data that fuels it. What we need now is the engine that puts it all together. This is the system. This is the technical definition, but it gets right to the point. An information system, or an IS, isn't just a computer or a piece of software. It's a whole set of components working together for one single reason: to get the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make better decisions. Simple as that. And this diagram here shows you the basic mechanics. Just think of an ATM. The input is you putting in your card and typing your PIN. The processing is the system behind the scenes checking your balance and authorizing the transaction. The output is the cash and your receipt. And that feedback loop, that's you checking your receipt to make sure the whole process worked correctly.
And listen, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this. When we say system, we are not just talking about technology. A real system has three dimensions. Of course, you have the technology, the hardware, the software, but you also need the people who are trained to use it, and you need the business processes that define how it's used. A system will always, always fail if you ignore any one of these. I mean, you can have the best software in the world, but if nobody knows how to use it, or if the way you do business is just broken, it's completely worthless.
Okay, so we've looked at organizations, management, and information systems. Now it is time to put it all together and finally answer the big question: what is MIS all about? And here it is. This is where it all clicks. Remember that management pyramid we looked at? Well, a business doesn't just have one information system. It has different systems specifically built for each level. The frontline operational managers, they need systems for tracking daily transactions. Middle managers, they need systems that summarize all that data so they can see performance. And the top executives, they need strategic systems to help them try and see 5 years into the future. So, Management Information Systems, or MIS, is the entire field dedicated to studying this intersection. It's all about how businesses can strategically use these systems to crush their goals. You can think of it as the essential bridge between the technical world of code and servers and the practical world of strategy, finance, and marketing. You know, what makes this whole field so fascinating is that it's not purely technical, not at all. It combines hard sciences like computer science with behavioral sciences like sociology and psychology. Because to build a system that actually works in the real world, you have to understand not just the technology, but also how people think, how groups work together, and how organizations actually behave. And that leaves us with one final, and I think crucial question. Is MIS about managing technology, or is it about using technology to manage a business? The difference between those two, well, it's everything. It's a difference between being a technician and being a leader. And that question is really the driving force behind the entire field of management information systems.